my wife, forced me to choose between her and my sick father. Now, I run a $1 million company and she's begging to see our kids. I'm a 36-year-old man, married for 8 years with 2 kids. I'm also the only son of my elderly father, who has been battling kidney issues for several years. Over the past 2 or 3 years, his condition has significantly declined, and he now needs dialysis twice a week. Initially, he could go on his own, but lately he's grown too weak and often asks me to accompany him. Seeing him like this, I made it a personal commitment to always take him myself. He needs dialysis twice a week, so I arranged it for Saturdays and Wednesdays. Saturday is my day off, so that's not a problem. For Wednesdays, I got special permission from my boss to leave work early and make up the hours at night once I returned from the hospital. I've been working at this company for 10 years, and my boss knows me as a loyal and hardworking employee. So, granting me this accommodation wasn't difficult. The real challenge, though, came from home. My wife, Ale, who's 34. When she found out I would be taking my dad twice a week for dialysis, she wasn't happy. She never liked it when I took him occasionally, but back then she didn't voice it. Now that I've committed to it regularly, she couldn't stay silent. She told me I was wasting my time because no matter what I did, my father would never appreciate me. To give you some context, my dad used to own a successful merchandising business and had accumulated a decent amount of wealth. He wanted me to eventually take over, but I had different dreams. I was passionate about tech. Coding, building software, solving real-world problems digitally. After high school, when Dad pushed me toward business or management studies, I chose to pursue a software degree instead. He didn't object much at first, assuming I'd still join his company eventually. But after graduating, I landed a job at a reputable tech firm and had no intention of stepping into his business. That's when he started pushing harder. Even after marriage, he asked one last time. When I said no, he was furious and said he'd donate all his wealth to charity and that I wouldn't get a single penny. Still, I stood my ground. I was earning well by then, bought my own car and home by the time I was 29. I told him I didn't need his money and could build my own future. From that point on, our relationship took a hit. About 5 years ago, my mom passed away from a sudden cardiac arrest. It broke my dad completely. I had moved out at 17 for college and was living on my own ever since, so Mom was his only emotional support. Her passing left him completely alone. That's when our relationship began to heal. I started visiting more often, bringing my kids along so he could spend time with them. He eventually stepped away from his company and handed control to a charitable trust. My wife, Ale, was never fond of my parents, especially my mother. She claimed my mom interfered too much and avoided visiting them whenever she could. After Dad announced he was cutting me out of his will, Ale openly started criticizing them, calling them selfish and cruel. I kept asking her not to get involved in my relationship with my parents, but she always pushed back, saying it affected not just me, but our children too. I reassured her that our family's future was secure, with or without Dad's money, but she never truly accepted that. Now, with the dialysis routine in place, it's been more difficult than ever. I tried to explain that my dad has no one else. He lost his parents years ago, and though he has an older brother, the man lives across the city and rarely visits. After Mom's death, my dad has grown lonelier, and I just can't turn my back on him. But Al won't see a reason. Lately, she's been making my life hell. Every Saturday, she comes up with some kind of plan, whether it's hosting a party at home, deep cleaning the entire house, taking the kids out, or something as trivial as a grocery pickup. I explained to her clearly that she can schedule whatever she wants on Sundays, but Saturdays are reserved for Dad's dialysis. Still, she goes ahead with her plans and later scolds me for either being late or missing them entirely. I have to rush to pick Dad up, drive him to the dialysis center, wait through the session, then drop him back home, and finally race back, only to face her sarcasm and tantrums. It's not just Saturdays. The same pattern repeats every Wednesday evening. I had assured my boss that I'd make up for the lost work hours by putting in extra time at night after the hospital run. But Ail always seems to find a way to sabotage that too. Almost every Wednesday, she goes out, visiting her family, catching up with old friends, or attending some random social event, and leaves me to look after the kids. I have to cook, feed the younger one, handle homework, and finish office work, all after a long day at work and taking Dad to dialysis. I know this is getting lengthy, but that's how exhausting my life has become. Dad has suggested a few times that I let the nurse take him instead, because he sees how rushed and anxious I always am. I barely stay long enough to say goodbye. I drop him off and bolt. When I come to pick him up, I ask him to be ready and waiting by the curb. Yes, he has a full-time nurse and a caretaker, but I still feel guilty for not giving him more of my time. The drive from his house to the center takes 30 minutes. I used to really enjoy those moments. We'd talk about the old days and the kids. But lately, with Ail's constant drama, all I think about is getting back home quickly. I'm often speeding, weaving through traffic, taking shortcuts, just to cut the drive time. That short ride is the only time I get with my dad now, and I don't want to give it up. I won't ask him to go with the nurse. I still have responsibilities as a son, but I'm reaching my limit with Ail. I can't take it anymore. Things are just getting worse. Every day, Ail finds a new way to discourage me from caring for my dad. Her argument is always the same. There's no point in putting in the effort for someone who already removed me from his will and gave all his money to charity. I honestly can't understand this mindset. Do we only do things for people based on profit and loss? What about people whose parents are poor or have no assets? Should their kids just abandon them too? After listening to her tantrums for months, I finally snapped. I told her that her parents aren't going to leave her anything either, so why does she visit them all the time? And wow, she completely lost it. She screamed that her parents had done far more for her than my greedy father ever did for me. She said they supported her, they never disowned her like my dad supposedly did, and I should never dare to compare them. It wasn't just a one-time argument. These fights have become the norm, especially after I return home on Wednesdays and Saturdays. And it's only getting worse. She used to pick fights with me in private. Now, she screams at me in front of our kids. I even caught her bad-mouthing my father in front of them and trying to turn them against both of us. When I stepped in to stop it, that led to yet another massive argument. At this point, her fights have become a routine. On the rare days she doesn't yell, it feels strangely quiet, like something's off, only for her to explode worse the next day. I've nearly given up. I don't argue with her anymore. I don't even raise my voice. I just act like she's invisible. What else can I do? I'm not going to abandon my dad just to make her happy. I don't care if he removed me from his will. That was his choice, and it happened because I made mine. I refused to take over his business, and he had to hand it over to a trust. That must have crushed him. That company was his life's work. His baby. He had every right to disown me, because I had truly hurt him. And sometimes I can't help but feel like karma is catching up with me for the pain I caused. Meanwhile, my dad is getting weaker every day. He can barely walk without support now. I used to save time by asking him to come outside himself and would drop him off at the gate after dialysis. But now, I don't care about being late. I go inside, help him gently down the steps, walk him to the car, and after the session, make sure to get him back into bed, settled and comfortable. He's also having trouble breathing, so I walk slowly with him, at his pace. While driving, I make sure to go slowly, no more speeding, just to avoid stressing his heart. Honestly, rushing home wasn't helping anyway. If I had to deal with that bitter woman no matter what, why not at least make sure Dad was okay first? But my laid-back attitude only made things worse. Yesterday, Ale said something that hit me hard. She told me to choose between her and my dad. I calmly tried to explain that Dad wasn't going to be around forever. From the looks of it, he didn't have much time left. And her reply? Cold as ice. She said, "Then you better choose wisely. Someone who'll be with you forever or someone who's going to die soon." That was it for me. I snapped. I told her, then I'd rather choose my dying father over someone so evil and selfish. She stormed off, packed her bags, and left. I didn't stop her. She needed time to cool off, and I needed peace. Since she's been gone, I've been taking care of the house, the kids, my work, and my father. And surprisingly, I feel calm. Her absence is peaceful. 2 days ago, she sent divorce papers. I wasn't shocked, I sort of expected it, but the timing caught me off guard. Still, deep down, I felt relieved. I didn't even call her. I just signed the papers and sent them back. Surprisingly, she didn't even ask for custody of the kids. That was the only thing I was really worried about. But no, she made it clear. She didn't want them. When she got the signed papers, she called me, yelling about how I could just sign without begging her to stay. Her mom grabbed the phone and scolded me for not acting like a man and trying to win my wife back. I just laughed. Why would I? She wanted a divorce, and I gave it to her. No fuss. I even threw in a jab that she abandoned her own children. She said I could keep everything, my house, my assets, even the kids. She didn't want any of it. Her mother said Ale was still young and didn't want to carry the baggage of raising kids. Fine by me. I'm grateful to have my children with me. It's definitely a relief, but I worry about the kids, especially the little one. They miss their mom, naturally. Managing everything on my own is tough, especially while I'm at the office, but I'm hopeful. I'll get through this. Just a short one. I've moved into Dad's house with my kids, and honestly, it was the best decision. Thanks to everyone who suggested it, it truly worked out. Now, Dad has the company of his grandchildren, and they have their grandpa to play with. Dad's full-time caregiver was more than willing to watch over the kids too, especially with a pay raise, so it turned into a win-win. The kids are under Grandpa's watchful eye, and they're being cared for while I'm at work. It's been such a joyful shift, watching Dad laugh and play with the children, seeing how much they all enjoy each other's company. Ale never saw this coming. She thought divorcing me would destroy me, that I'd collapse under the weight of parenting, work, and caring for Dad. But everything is falling into place. Honestly, I'm having the last laugh. That divorce? Best thing that's ever happened to me. LOL. It's sad news this time. My dad passed away last week in his sleep. He had spent the evening playing with the kids, smiling and laughing. He went to bed happy and never woke up. The doctor said he passed peacefully. Both the doctor and his nurse, along with the caregiver, said the last few weeks were the happiest they'd seen him. They truly believed that our moving in with him extended his life months ago. He was already on the edge of giving up. Before we moved in, he had lost all hope. Losing your only parent is heartbreaking, but I'm comforted by the fact that he got to spend the final months of his life with joy and peace. My kids are deeply saddened too, but Dad left a lasting impact on them. They often tell me Grandpa taught them to accept life as it is and keep moving forward, because life doesn't stop for anyone. Hearing that fills me with pride. They are truly my strength in this moment of sorrow. But there was another surprise, something completely unexpected. A few days after Dad passed, his lawyer contacted me and asked me to come to his office for the will reading. I told him there was no need. Dad had already told me he'd given everything to a charitable trust, and I was okay with that. I even asked if I needed to vacate the house, assuming that was donated too. The lawyer just chuckled and told me to come in. When I arrived, the trust representatives were already there. The lawyer had invited them too. Then he began reading the will, and I couldn't hold back my tears. Dad had actually named me as the sole heir. Everything, his house, his wealth, the business, it was all left to me. I was stunned. I asked the lawyer if this was a recent change, maybe something Dad updated after I started caring for him. But the lawyer just smiled and said, "No, you were always the heir. The will was never changed." I broke down. My father had never truly abandoned me. Maybe he had only threatened to disown me, hoping I'd take over the family business. But he never went through with it. As I sobbed, the lawyer tried to comfort me. I told him how deeply I regretted hurting my father, how I believed he hated me for not following his path. The lawyer told me the opposite. Dad had always been proud of me. He admired that I pursued my dreams and didn't cave to pressure. He respected that I was willing to give up his wealth to follow my own passion. Then came the final blow. The lawyer said I was now the legal decision-maker of the company. If I wanted, I could reclaim it from the trust and run it myself. And I'm seriously thinking about it. Dad allowed me to follow my dreams. Now it's my turn to honor his. I want to take the business back and scale it to the heights he once envisioned. That evening, I told my kids about their grandfather's will. He had left a share of his wealth for them too, to be accessed when they turn 18. Today, we visited Dad's grave with flowers. We spent a quiet moment there, just sitting in peace. This is an emotional chapter in my life. You know how sugar brings ants crawling back? Well, that's exactly what happened. A month after Dad passed, I began taking over the business and got involved in his community projects. First, I quit my tech job and stepped fully into Dad's shoes. Then, I rented out my own house, as the kids and I chose to stay in my parents' home. The kids say they feel closer to Grandpa here, and honestly, this place holds my entire childhood. It comforts me too. Soon after word spread that I inherited my father's $1 million estate, the visitors started pouring in. Distant relatives, old friends, long-lost neighbors. Everyone seemed to remember me now. But the most surprising guest of all was my ex-wife, Al, and her parents. They showed up teary-eyed, claiming they had no idea about Dad's death or they would have attended the funeral. Her parents suddenly had all these kind words about him. Ale hugged our kids and cried, saying how much she missed them. I asked her, "If you missed them so much, why didn't you come see them once in the past 7 or 8 months?" She claimed she went to our old house but found it locked. What nonsense. I asked her, "When you saw the house was locked, did it not occur to you to call and check on your children? Were you not worried about them?" She had no response. Her parents jumped in, saying we should forget the past and move on. Now that my father was gone, they argued the kids needed a mother while I was busy at work, so it made sense for us to reconcile. I laughed in their faces. The kids needed her most when she abandoned them. Now they've adjusted to her absence, and I have no interest in bringing her back into our lives. She began crying again. Her parents stepped out, leaving us alone. She grabbed my hands and begged for another chance, said she loved me and missed being with the children. I just laughed and said, "You know what? You don't love me. You love the wealth my father left me. You and your greedy parents are just here to leech off my money." I don't regret saying that about her parents, because that's exactly what they are. Let's not forget, she once called my dad greedy and mean during the divorce. There's absolutely no way I'm letting this woman touch even a penny of his hard-earned legacy. She got offended that I insulted her parents. She claimed she'd been pleading with me because she loved me. But now, she said, she would take what was rightfully hers. She reminded me she didn't ask for alimony during the divorce, but now she wanted half of my wealth. Actually, half of my father's wealth. I told her to do whatever she wanted. I warned her. I'll fight her with everything I have, but I won't give her a cent. She cursed me out and stormed off. I spoke to my lawyer about this possibility. Thankfully, he assured me that her chances were slim. The divorce was finalized a year before I inherited anything. On top of that, the children live with me. Legally, there's no way she could claim any part of the inheritance. Still, he advised me to be cautious about letting her spend unsupervised time with the kids. She might try to manipulate them emotionally and then file for custody or start demanding money under the pretext of child maintenance. I couldn't be more grateful for that advice. I've made it a rule to supervise any meeting between her and the kids. Lately, I've also been spending more time with my children, helping them process their grief, talking to them, and just being there. I don't want them turning to their mother for emotional support out of desperation. I've taken over Dad's company now, and that's given me a lot of freedom and flexibility to prioritize my health and personal life. In fact, I'm planning a vacation with the kids to the Bahamas. Yeah, why not? They deserve a break, something lavish, something joyful. And no, this isn't about splurging my father's money. Even before the inheritance, I could afford it. But I never had the time, what with my job, my father's illness, and everything else. Now that I have the bandwidth, I want to give my kids this gift. As for Ale, she hasn't contacted me since that last dramatic visit. I have a strong feeling she's out there, knocking on every lawyer's door, trying to build a case against me. Let her try. I'm ready for it.